So today we're going to talk about why it's super important for you if you're learning a new skill and say it's a yoga move, kettlebells, Olympic lifting, that you really take the time to learn and integrate good solid technique, whether that be feedback from somebody like a coach, or maybe you're filming yourself, or something that will ensure that the movement that you're doing is optimal, because your body and your mind does not care about how much effort you put into something. It only cares about technique. So let's break this down and let's talk about the brain, because you might find this super interesting if you're somebody that maybe have a student and you're trying to convince them why technique is so important, or maybe you need to know yourself why technique is so important, and not always try to go gung-ho through everything without paying attention to your form, so to speak. So let's talk about what is going on with the brain when you're learning something. And the way typically the brain is broken up, so to speak, is you have the right side and the left side. The classic contrast of the brain, or the very old school way of thinking of it, so to speak, or very surface, is that the right side is non-linguistic and the left side is linguistic. So I'm sure you've heard this before. Right-brained people are creative, left-brained people are, accountants or something like that. And that's not entirely true for what they actually do. So here's kind of the most relevant research that they found what these sides of the brain do. So the right side is responsible for novelty, anomaly, imagination, abstract thinking. The left side is well-rehearsed activities, habituation, orderliness. So yeah, you can think of it as chaos, order, yin, yang, the unknown and the known. So let's say, for example, that you're learning a new yoga flow, or you're learning a new kettlebell sequence, or you're learning a new Olympic barbell lift, and you are doing the movement. The right side of your brain is going to be incredibly active, because all of this anomaly, all of this unknownness, so to speak, is coming at you, and that's the part of the brain that is going to be very active when all of this is coming at your mind, at your brain. While the left side doesn't deal with that. The left side is responsible for the habituation and well-rehearsed activities. So it does things like language. It is the linguistic side, because basically what language is things that are cut up and really orderly and precise. That's what that is, while the right side is abstract and about imagery. So you're learning something new. The right side is super active. It's doing it, it's rehearsing it, and in time, what happens, so to speak, is that the right side of the brain knocks on the door of the left side of the brain and starts to introduce this this movement pattern that it's been so amazed by for so long, saying like, oh, okay, I kind of know what it is. It's very similar to like, if you meet somebody brand new for the first time, you're like all excited, you're like getting to know them, you don't know who they are, and then after a while, you're like, oh, I know you, I know exactly what you're into, I know what you want to eat, where you want to go, and that's kind of what happens with the right side of the brain. It kind of tells the left side of the brain like, hey, I'm going to introduce these elements that I've gotten to know slowly, so that you can bring it over to long term, going from the short term to very long term type of situation. So now the left side of the brain takes this pattern that you've spent time learning, and it starts to be very active in the beginning, and then over time it starts to use less and less and less of the processing power, until, and you can imagine it this way, that there's like a little machine in the back of your head on the left side that basically is responsible for that movement and that movement pattern only. That's, it's like a machine that's been hardwired, and that's what it's going to do, because that's how it was introduced to the elements of the movement. So if you didn't take the time to learn the technique as best and execute it as best as you possibly can at the very beginning when you're meeting this sequence for the first time, then the machine that you build in the back of your skull is going to be whatever it is you did. So it doesn't matter if you're like, oh, but I'm doing all this effort and I'm working out like this and I'm doing these movements, but I'm not seeing any results, or my knee hurts, my shoulder hurts. It might be because you didn't take the time in the beginning to learn it properly. And this is where you can use a coach, you can film yourself, you can research, but you want to definitely make sure that your technique is as optimal as it could be, because once it's transferring over to the left side, which is the well-rehearsed activities and habituation, the machine is locked in, it's hardwired. Not saying that it's impossible to correct, because you can correct those bad habits, but obviously with bad habits, there's that saying, old bad habits die hard, because it's so ingrained in you. So yeah, so if you're starting off in your fitness journey, your yoga journey, your any journey, anything where you're learning something new, just make the time and bring yourself to it fully. Don't let your ego get in the way, particularly when it comes to lifting. Sometimes it's just ego. People want to lift heavier right away, and then all of a sudden their form starts to break down, but they're lifting heavier, and then they keep doing that, and then again, that's their form gets locked in. So, something to think about, and if you have a student, you can kind of parlay that to them, right side, left side, novelty, and habituation. So, if you have any questions, hit me up. Bye.